This is the exclusive interview with the Finance Minister of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson. It's good to have you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks, Alfred.
I mean, you got the whole Ghana talking about how you pronounce your name. You corrected all of us, actually. We all calling you Cassiel, and you say it's Cassiel. Mm-hmm. Tell us a bit more about that.
My name is Cassiel Forson. You can also call me Ato, because Ato is my middle name. And most people prefer to call me Ato Forson. I prefer Ato as well. So call me Ato Forson.
Ato Forson.
If Cassiel is, you're not comfortable with Cassiel.
What's the origin of that name, by the way?
Cassiel?
Yes.
Cassiel is biblical. It's in the Bible.
It's in the Bible?
Yeah, it's in the Bible.
The name Cassiel is in the Bible?
One of the archangels.
One of the archangels?
Yes.
Of God?
Of God.
Is named Cassiel?
Cassiel. The one responsible for Saturday. The
one responsible for Saturday?
Yes.
Many people would not know this.
Read your Bible deeply.
But what keeps you awake at night? I mean, knowing that you carry the burden of meeting the expectations of the Ghanaian people about the state of the economy being improved?
I think hope keeps me alive. Hope keeps me going. And they believe that regardless of the challenges that we face, and the difficulties and the MPP government left behind, the NDC is capable of resolving it. It won't be easy. It won't be simple. But it is doable. It is doable with truthfulness, by telling the people of Ghana the true state of the Ghanaian economy, and being truthful with the people, and aside, being disciplined. I'm of the hope that if you mean well, amidst the challenges that we face, regardless, you can fix the mess that we have inherited.
We're going to get into what the MPP thinks about what your truthfulness is, because they say that what you presented in the budget cannot be true. It is not a true reflection
what have they,
of what they handed over to you.
To date, they've not been able to say that it's not true that they left a debt behind. They've not been able to say that the Republic of Ghana, at the time they were leaving office, they've left behind 111 billion Ghana cedis in T-bills that we have to roll over week in, week out. They have not denied the fact that they left for the John Mahama administration to repay domestic debt worth 150 billion cedis. They have not contended or said anywhere that it's not true that President Mahama's administration is going to be made to pay to service our debt, external debt, worth $8.7 billion in the next 4 years. They haven't said that ECG did not leave debt of 68 billion cedis. And aside that, an amount of 1.73 billion Ghana US dollars is being owed to IPPs. I've also not heard them say that Cocoa Board is in good state and that they did not leave debt up to 32 billion Ghana cedis. And that, most worrisome, they also awarded contracts of which they do not have budgets for, 195 billion Ghana cedis. Contracts that they have awarded before they left office. They've not they've never said that that is not the case. And the fact that they had processed expenditure worth 18 billion Ghana cedis to control an accountant general by NDA, and there was no money for.
Oh, we're going to get into that, because they say that these figures that you talked about are not audited as yet. So why then do you add it to the budget when all these figures that you mentioned have not been audited, to present it to Ghanaians in the budget?
So first of all, You know, the MPPs used to double standard, and it has always been their modus operandi. Anytime their back is against the wall, and they themselves knowing very well that they've left a mess behind. As a Minister of Finance, I came to this ministry and came to understand that the Controller and Accountant General is holding BTAs, bank transfer advice, worth 18.3 billion Ghana cedis.
18.3 billion
Ghana cedis. I do not need audit to validate what the minister responsible for finance at the time had sent to the controller for payment. In fact, it has gone through various stages, and it is waiting at the controller's office, waiting for cash before payment. I do not need audit to know that certain ministries have signed IPCs and have sent to Ministry of Finance for Ministry of Finance to process again to controller for payment, worth 49 billion. Two put together, you are talking of approximately 67.5 billion cedis. What I need of an audit for is to ascertain the authenticity of the amount that they have said we should pay, for me to know whether that amount, that company in question did some work for Ghana or not. But the fact remains that ministries, departments, and agencies under President Akufo-Addo had done work, sent the invoices to the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Finance has also forwarded some, the Minister of Finance has also authenticated some, and has been sent to the Controller and Accountant General. My audit that I'm going to do is not to assess the quantum, because I've done the verification already.
Done the verification?
I've done the verification already, and the verification is what gave me the 67.5 billion. The audit I'm going to do is to ascertain the accuracy, the validity of that claim, whether indeed they did work worth 67 billion cedis, of which they are asking the Republic of Ghana to fund. Okay. So I don't know the audit they are talking about.
So here's what they say in the press conference, that and this is actually your first response to their press conference, as exclusive. But then again, they say that it is curious how you will come to Parliament with a budget and say that the fiscal deficit and primary deficit on commitment were derived using a certain data on claims, which is yet to be audited. Yet you have announced results also derived from the data to the effect that the economy is bad. It is too elementary, in their view, to know that when you have not audited your figures, you certainly cannot put them in a budget.
No, our brothers and sisters in the MPP have missed it.
What did they miss?
You see, they've missed it in the sense that they know the mess that they have caused and the damage the MPP, led by President Akufo-Addo and his finance minister, the damage they've done to the Republic of Ghana. And so, if you sign on to a program and you are supposed to do 0.5% of GDP, surplus, primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP, and you end up and perform minus a deficit of 3.9% of GDP, you see that obviously they will be dazed and worried, and as a result of them being worried, they will have to find a way to show an impression that it hasn't been done. But as I speak with you, what they are trying to say is simple. We know we have messed up, but don't tell the people. Hide it. That's what they are trying to say.
They are not saying
no,
they
but what? No.
They said they handed over an economy that was on the track of improvement and recording pre-COVID in fact, more improved, you know, statistics beyond what was there and better than pre-COVID levels. They talk about economy that was working, economy that has turned the corner, and then they talk about the fact that even debt to GDP was better than what you handed over to them in 2016.
That's not
so
true.
Their narrative of the state of the economy is contrary to what
Let me take you through. What was the debt to GDP in 2016? You remember?
The debt to GDP in 2016
was 57%. 56.3.
56.3.
What's the debt to GDP today? So
61.8.
So what makes you think they are? That is 60-something% is better than 50-something%.
So that was
I'm trying
before
to.
the rebasing. They
No.
put it at 78%.
But that is what I'm telling you. You don't do before rebasing or after rebasing. Economy is economy, and so that's what it is.
So they quoted before the rebasing.
I'm trying to take you through it. You need to understand once again that the debt in question has dropped because this government failed to service a debt. And bondholders were asked, in fact, Eurobond holders were asked to accept 37% haircut. Granted that the debt was, say, 10 billion cedis. Eurobond, $3.7 billion. The amount of $10 billion, $3.7 billion worth of bondholders' money were actually forced to receive let me put it this way, a haircut. As a result, the debt will drop. And if the debt drops, because you have failed to service your debt, and because you've said to the owners of the bonds that I can't pay my debt, and so forgo 37%, no one should clap for you.
You think that that's not worth celebrating?
No, why should you? For the first time, no government in this republic has defaulted in the servicing of Eurobonds before. Unfortunately, the MPP has that record, a record of default. In fact, in the history of Ghana, no government has defaulted in the payment of domestic bonds before. MPP once again has come out to be the ones to bring out such a bad record. And so if they are saying that because we gave haircuts and we defaulted in the servicing of our debt, the debt has dropped, and so we should clap, that is unfortunate. But let me tell you once again, why are you using rebase and before rebase for the purposes of analysis?
So that's what they mentioned.
Are you trying to tell me that if, for example, you fail to rebase, okay, granted that we did not rebase, so it means that quantum of GDP that was subsequently rebased would have not been part of this nominal GDP. So you take that one also out and check the analysis and see what it would have been. It's so elementary. Basic. 1 + 1 is 2. And for some reason, if your GDP before the rebase was 10, and after the rebase, your GDP became 20, 20 has now become the base. And 10 years down the line, that 20 is part of the base going into the next 10 years. If you decide to remove the 10 years for this year, then you have to remove the 10%, the 10 this year. You have to remove it also from there.
The previous.
And what would have happened?
Well, they say they.
So what it is? So you could see,
reduction.
you can see that they lack understanding of the very analysis that they are trying to portray. But I'm not here to respond to them. I'm here to tell you what the true state of the economy is and what they have left behind.
Well, they challenge that position, so you would have to respond to them somehow.
I respond in Parliament. I go to Parliament
but
to
respond. You respond to the Ghanaian people as well.
Yes, of course. But that is what I've done.
Indeed.
That's what I've done. And I'll continue to do that. And I'm trying to tell you, I did not hear them argue against the fact that the Republic of Ghana does not have debt worth $8.7 billion to service over the next 4 years, and another 150 billion cedis to be serviced in the next 4 years. I did not hear that.
And I recall that when you were giving the breakdown of the debt obligation, the repayment over the next 4 years, there was heavy concentration in 2027 and 2028.
Correct.
Any reason why? Have you found out?
They did it. I was expecting that the media would have asked them that question, why they restructured the debt and built so much harms in the year 2027 and 2028. Because the harms you see for 2027 and 2028 does not only relate to Eurobonds or external debt servicing, but also relates to the domestic debt servicing. And for 2027 and 2028, it's quite a very difficult 2 years for the Republic of Ghana. But as I've said, we will begin to rebuild buffers. We'll begin to build buffers through the sinking fund and use that as the basis to pick up those debts. But let me also say this. When we were leaving office in the year 2016, we left in debt service dollar account, what you call a sinking fund, $319 million. And then the debt service CD account, we left 430 million CDs. They left $64,000 and 143 million CDs. So it tells you, this defines the debt management behavior of the MPP party and how they take building buffers seriously. Unfortunately, they've not been able to build enough buffers. Even though they have left so much debt, but they've not built buffers for the next government.
But you say that you're going to have to pay it. That's why you are in power.
Of course.
And you said you will fix it.
Of course.
The promise is that in this election that you won, with your finance minister now, was heavy on the economy. And the Ghanaian people expect that with all the issues and the challenges that you're faced with right now, the resolution, the expectation is that you will fix it. Is that a commitment that you're making to the Ghanaian people?
We have said we will fix it. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't tell the people of Ghana the truth. But you need to know the truth for you to appreciate the level of work we are going to do and appreciate the work if we do it and know what we have done. So the premise must be laid bare so that you know the quantum or the magnitude of the challenges that we came to inherit. And it's a tall order, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. As I've said, we will do it.
You will do it.
We will do it because we've been elected to do same. It will be difficult, but we will do it. And we've said that. It doesn't mean we are not going to do it, but we will do it. And so be rest assured that we have already started work. And I'm sure by now you've seen some form of improvement in the work that we are doing. And so things will come up.
Wait for me. We'll check on the microphone for you. Can you speak now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I see. Okay. I'm going ahead of myself in a number of areas. So before we get into the improvements that you talk about, because we'll get into the treasury bills and then also the falling rates, which is one of the significant improvements that even the market analysts have admitted. Yes, on the treasury bills. But the 67.5 billion that you mentioned, this is arrears, from the previous administration, contracts awarded and so on. Let's do a breakdown. I want to understand exactly what makes up the 67.5 billion CDs that you would have to find money to pay those that really have been honored, as it were, or are legitimately expended.
They are largely contractors and suppliers who have done some work for the government of Ghana, and they've not been able to pay them 67.5 billion cedis.
Contractors?
Yes, contractors. And as I'm saying, and you heard the same people that awarded the contract say that we should, why are we saying that they are dead? We should audit before. But they had processed for payment.
It's a road fund, 21 billion.
No, that is different from road fund.
It's
also different from road fund. No, it's a standalone. Road fund has 5.75 billion cedis.
The IPPs as well.
IPPs $1.73 billion.
Then
ECG has 68 billion cedis. Cocoa bought 32 billion cedis in arrest. These are different from the 67.5 billion cedis.
I see. Because they say that, and I'm talking about the MPP, they say that you erroneously included some 49.2 billion in these expenditure claims without proper verification.
Oh, they don't know what they are talking about.
That's what they are saying.
So as I'm trying to tell you, first of all, the way Ministry of Finance works, the Ministry of Finance is a central management agency that obviously is responsible for the payment of certificates and claims and obligations of state. Sector ministries awards contract, and the contracts are sent to the Ministry of Finance level for payment. Sector ministries, after awarding contracts are sent to the Ministry of Finance, but even before you award contract, you will have to request for commencement certificate for the minister responsible for finance to accept or refuse. These contracts were awarded, work has been done, and certificate has been processed and sent to the Ministry of Finance for the minister responsible for finance to process and pay. So as I sit here, we are sitting on 49 billion cedis worth of claims being suppliers and that of IPCs from contractors. 49 billion cedis. That I did not just bring them. This came from the sector ministries, of which MPP ministers were there, their own chief directors, and others sent to the ministry for payment. Aside that,
is this part of the 67.5?
It's part of the 67.5. Aside the 49 billion, there's another 18 billion cedis sitting with the Controller and Accountant General. And that was signed by the Minister of Finance processing for payment. So the two put together is what you get the 67.5 billion cedis.
So this 67.5 is this data is what you got from the
ministries, department and agencies
themselves. Because they point to, they say the professionals in the ministry, they know that in putting together such expenditure, you don't have to add what you have not verified. And you may not be taking advice from them.
So simply, they were hiding it.
They were hiding this?
Yes, because they were hiding it and they are surprised that it has come out, and that is why they are so worried. But the fact remains that these are arrests. The fact remains that these are bills and obligation of state, and the Republic of Ghana is supposed to pay. What we need to verify is to find out that these certificates that has become an obligation of state are legitimate. Have they actually done the work? It's another level. But even before you go there, the certificates are sitting here at the Ministry of Finance.
Right.
And that is why contractors keep coming here and asking for their payment.
And with that one, whether the verification is ongoing or not, they are demanding their money.
Yes, they are demanding their money. And I've said that until the verification is done, we are not making any payment.
But you mentioned some contracts awarded in excess of 195 billion
cedis. And we have the breakdown.
So that's separate from the 67.
Exactly.
So
and Ministry of Roads alone awarded contracts to the tune of 103 billion cedis. Ministry of Roads alone.
And
Out of the 195 billion, 102 billion is coming from Ministry of Roads.
And do these have commencement certificates?
No, they don't.
They don't have commencement certificates. So what?
They don't have authorization.
But some of them were executed or carried out?
Yes.
What that means is then you have to take a decision
We
on
will
whether
have to take
pay
a decision.
or not.
And the decision will be taken.
Whether to pay or not?
Yes, a decision will be taken whether to continue with those contracts or not.
And this is based on after evaluation?
Based after the evaluation.
I see. But would you then, are you minded to, as it were, ask questions and also make people answer for some of the decisions taken, which you are just talking about?
Yes,
right
but
now?
that is not my decision. There is a ministry responsible for asking those questions and all, and I'm sure when we get there, we'll cross it.
Let's go into the energy sector debt. They say that the 20.8 billion that you say is some support that was in 2024, some support that was given to the energy sector. The MPP says with the budget that was read, it doesn't really give any hope to the energy sector in terms of how you intend to deal with the debt in the energy sector. And we're going to be grappling with power outages in the coming months.
We made allocation worth 28 billion cedis to the energy sector because of what we have inherited. We've inherited an energy sector that is throwing out a debt of $2.2 billion every year.
$2.2 billion?
$2.2 billion. As a result, we had to introduce some measures. Some of the measures are the measures that they themselves had agreed with IMF and all to reduce the shortfall. And regardless, we had to make provision for approximately 28 billion cedis for the purposes of refinancing, paying down some of these shortfalls.
Based on at least what you're saying right now, the legacy arrears as well of some 1.73 billion.
That is different from the 28 billion.
Is different from the 28 billion.
From the 28 billion that we made provision for is just to pay for the shortfall for the year 2025.
But the projection for the shortfall between 2023 and 2026 is 140 billion cedis.
Yes.
How are you going to grapple with this?
We have to find a way around it. We had to find a way around it. And we will certainly find a way around it to get the energy sector going. It's an important sector of state, and we will need to make sure we allow the sector to drive the economy. And so regardless of the challenges that we have faced, we have to find a way around it. Some of the things we'll be doing is to urgently complete the renegotiation with the IPPs. And I'm sure when we're able to renegotiate, we can reduce some of the legacy debt. The legacy debt of about 1.7 billion that we came to inherit, you will be able to reduce it and reduce some capacity charges going forward. I know the minister responsible for energy and green transition is in the process of dealing with that, and that will be done. I will join him for us to complete it as soon as possible.
I see. And the financial sector, because it's energy finance just influences the revolution of the economy. Correct. And the research that you're talking about.
Correct.
You question why over 30 billion, at least, that's a new figure that we had in the budget.
Based on the data that
that you have, over 30 billion cedis is what was used for the financial sector cleanup.
Correct.
Beyond that, you are having to make some 2.2 billion cedis available for NIB,
ADB,
and ADB
correct.
recapitalization. How is all of this playing out, especially because of what
again,
was
in
the
the
objective
budget
of the financial sector cleanup?
Again, in the budget, we've made provision for NIB, ADB this year. We've made provision of 450 million Ghana cedis for the two banks to help in the recapitalization effort. Next year, we'll also make another provision. So we believe that the next 2-3 years, we'll be able to capitalize them strongly. Aside that, we are also aware of the financial sector risk and the fact that Ghana will need another 10 billion cedis to be able to clean up the sector has been inherited, and it's also largely because of the fact that the government decided to, in quote, do a financial sector cleanup some years ago and created such a huge debt that I think is needless. And if they had not touched the sector, all of this debt wouldn't have been an issue.
So over 30 billion spent on was described as a financial sector cleanup. And you're having to go spend another 10 billion. You've budgeted to spend another 10 billion.
No, we have not budgeted to spend another 10 billion. But we're told that we need to look for 10 billion cedis to be able to deal with the challenges that has been inherited.
I see, but if we spent this much, and this is what Ghanaians, would be asking, if we spent this much to clean the financial sector, over 30 billion, why are we having to spend another 10 billion to do another cleaning of the sector that this much was spent on?
It is a big question to ask. And I am particularly concerned, first, to use 30 billion cedis to resolve a problem that you needed only about 3 to 5 billion cedis to resolve. It baffles me a bit. We will need to look into the entire expenditure of the banking sector cleanup once again, because something is not adding up. Something is certainly not adding up. No one expected that Ghana would spend 30 billion odd Ghana cedis to be able to resolve the challenges of the banking sector. Whereas the data and the evidence before the banking sector cleanup suggested that Ghana needed less than $5 billion to resolve it. Why are we where we are? Why have we spent $30 billion cedis, and yet we have a lot more that we expect the taxpayer to cough? I think it's a matter that we need to look into carefully. I'm sure we'll be able to look into it.
So is it one that you're going to commission some sort of inquiry or investigation into, or you would recommend that it be done?
At the moment, my focus is to see the budget through. And after the budget, I will have to pay critical attention to some of these key concerns, but that will be done.
See, and beyond this, you're also talking about some 53 billion cedis.
That's the central bank.
To recapitalize the central bank, more of a bailout for the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, for the Bank of Ghana.
Why?
Because of their negative equity situation, and the previous administration agreed and signed an MOU with the central bank to recapitalize it with 53 billion Ghana cedis. Again, the central bank needs to move away from negative equity to a positive equity to make the bank strong and for them to be able to perform the functions that the central bank will have to pay. But I have said that, yes, we've inherited that, but the Bank of Ghana must lead the way. And I'm glad to inform you that the governor has already started, and the governor believes that the taxpayer alone cannot shoulder 53 billion Ghana cedis at this time. And he has announced some bold measures to improve their profitability and to reverse the declining trend, and to make sure that the central bank will, on their own, be able to improve their balance sheet as against the government of Ghana going to raise some resources of sort to support the recapitalization effort of the
You said, right, we're live on TV3 now, and this is an exclusive interview with the Finance Minister, Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson, and it's been exclusively responding to the NPP's press conference earlier today, and then also we're going to get into the details of the 8 bills that he has just presented to Parliament earlier, not too long ago, about some of the taxes and levies that he announced that will be scrapped. We were just talking about financial sector cleanup, how much it costs us as a country, and then also we're hearing of some 10 billion, over 10 billion, in fact, that we would have to spend again to clean up the same sector that some 30 billion was used to clean up. That's the question that obviously will bother the minds of many, because that money is going to have to come from you and I, the Ghanaian people. Now, already the central bank governor was in parliament not too long ago to talk about the expenditure on the new building. There has been that call for value for money audit. Is that one that you support?
Oh, yes. I'm sure the governor himself will not run away from that call. And I mean, the kind of money they've spent on the central bank is in excess of, on the central bank building, it's in excess of 300 million.
In excess of 300 million?
Yes, of course, dollars.
Dollars?
Yes, because if you put everything together in terms of the cost of building, the cost of furniture, cost of IT system, and many others that I
so need $11 million to
yes,
finish the place.
So that is going to take you about $300 million. And if $300 million, give and take, is taking you in excess of 4.5 billion cedis for one head office. And so it points to a situation that I believe that it doesn't reflect a bank that is asking the taxpayer to support. And this building was commenced around the same time that the bank was going through a very difficult time. As I said, we shall overcome it. The bank will look within. Luckily, as we speak, the bank is policy solvent, and simple put, they are able to generate enough resources to fund their monetary policy operations. And so they are working. All what they will need to do is to improve their balance sheet over a period of time. And this won't be the first time that you see a central bank with negative equity. It has happened in some countries before.
So let's get into the IMF program, because
yes.
I'm just receiving some news that
yes.
you attempted a renegotiation of the IMF deal, and that has failed. Is that true?
Who said that to you?
Well, just receiving some publication to that effect. That's what I'm asking.
No, but from where? You can't attempt to renegotiate. If we're going to renegotiate IMF program, it's a matter of the state informing the IMF that we want to renegotiate. We have not attempted to renegotiate the IMF program.
That's on record. It has to be responded to.
I just want to put on record that the NDC, or the government of Ghana, is committed to the IMF program. The IMF program was signed not with MPP, but with the state, the Republic of Ghana. It is our responsibility to implement the program. We may not agree with some of the parameters of the program, but it doesn't mean that you are going to not obey the program or see the program to a successful conclusion. Yes, we have seen some slippages, but as it is, and I've said that the structural benchmarks as we inherited were all derailed, and we've seen that the key performance criteria, being the primary balance on commitment basis, has also derailed. And so clearly, even though we are implementing the IMF program, there has been some setback, but those setbacks will work to resolve it. And the budget led a part to help us resolve the setbacks, and so we'll resolve the setbacks.
Well, I'll say that to the extent that there hasn't been a review of the program as yet, the review is due sometime in April.
The review is due on the 4th of April, but
yes.
You see,
so for your conclusion that already missed some targets, it's based on some voodoo computations from you.
First of all, let me say this. You are going to write an exam. The exam you are going to write, or let me put it this way, someone is coming to assess you. And the assessment is based on what you did some 4 months ago. And 4 months ago, you should have done 1, 2, 3, 4. you know that 4 months ago you did not do 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's evidence, legal evidence, that points that you have not been able to do all what you are supposed to do. You don't need someone, the assessor, to come and tell you that you have failed or you are going to fail.
Rather, you wait for the IMF to do the review.
Your job is for you to know that I have messed up, but I will take steps to make sure that I do not repeat it. So the mess has happened. You are supposed to do primary surplus of 0.5% of GDP. You've done 3.9. Do you need someone to come and tell you? You are supposed to send, let's say, a fiscal responsibility rule to Parliament. You have not done it. Do you need someone to come and tell you? You are supposed to implement X. Inflation was supposed to be a minimum of 15%. You could not achieve it. What is the inflation today? Do you need someone to tell you? You were supposed to do X amount of money being social spending. We've done social spending as at 31st December 2024. You are nowhere near the program target. So do you need someone to tell you? So yes, I will wait for them to officially say that I have failed. But within you, you should assess yourself and know that you have failed even ahead of the exam.
They say that the risk of you going ahead to say this is
what's the risk?
We could lose some $1.3 billion from the IMF and the World Bank because of this, what they describe as a voodoo or manipulated data that you put out there that we have missed these targets.
Maybe they don't appreciate the mess they have caused the people of Ghana. I was rather expecting them to apologize. Yes, to apologize and be remorseful for what they've done to the Republic of Ghana. Because my brother, I've always been aware that the economy is not in a good position. But I least expected to see what I have seen. I least expected to witness the magnitude of fiscal indiscipline and recklessness.
Beyond what you thought?
Beyond what I thought. I least expected. I least expected that the tax refund account, for example, that was supposed to be used for the purposes of only tax refund, was abused and raped in the magnitude that I've seen. And so the least I expect from the NPP party and the members that were in office is for them to rather apologize to the people of Ghana by saying that we tried, but we've messed up, and forgive us. And not for them to do what they are doing. Because I'm really shocked. I've held back on a number of things.
So what you have said is not all what it is.
The situation is, they've really messed up. It's bad. But as I've said, we were not elected to only talk about what they have left behind, but we're also elected to, at the minimum, improve the lots of the ordinary Ghanaian. And so I will talk about that, but I don't want to overly concentrate on that. I want to look forward. I want to look forward. Look forward with policies to confront the challenges that are facing the people of Ghana. That is where my focus is. And that is what I want us to look at and concentrate and build a Ghana we all want.
You talk about the policies and all the promises in this 2025 budget, and for instance, the big push and the money that you've also announced to be put or invested in the big push. All these put together, how then do you project a growth of just about 4% as against at least 4%? As against an economy that you describe was criminally managed that grew some 5.7%.
So, first, the MPP themselves projected a growth of 3.9% for 2024. Isn't it? 3.9%. And grew more than that. So projections are projections. You promise less and over-deliver.
That's what you're doing.
That is what is the way to go. Don't project 10% growth and end up doing 5 or 6. It will throw out your budget numbers. So you need to project low and aim to do well. The growth that the MPP achieved in the last year was largely coming from mines. It came from mining. And if you look at mining carefully, today mining is about 50-50. The large-scale regulated mining 50 and Galamsey 50%. And so I won't be wrong to conclude that this growth is coming from Galamsey. But the question is, it's coming from Galamsey. And ask yourself, if you are growing on the back of illegal mining, unregulated mining that is destroying your water bodies, mining that are destroying your forest, and you clap, that sort of growth is not sustainable.
How did you disaggregate the data to know that?
Oh, have you seen? Have you look at?
Yes. The mining sector led over 9%.
Yes. As against the other sectors, you said.
The other sectors, industry
not doing well, but it's mining sector driving.
Agric also posted some growth.
And you know the mining, what we get from mining. You know in terms of the gold that are exported. You know what comes from Galamsey and what is not coming from Galamsey. Now it's 50-50. In fact, it's even small-scale mining and Galamsey. So
you mean we cannot distinguish between what the revenue that comes from legalized small-scale mining and illegal small-scale mining?
Those who have the data knows what is coming from illegal small-scale mining and those that are coming from the regular sources.
You know, with the illegal small-scale mining, you can hardly even track the monies that's going out from there. It doesn't go through formal sources. So how do you even track the revenue from Galamsey?
You can't track the revenue from Galamsey. You can track the revenue from Galamsey. You can't track the revenue from Galamsey because all the gold that are recorded in other countries coming from Ghana, you just have to take the data, look at the gold that has been exported out of Ghana through legal and other routes, because those countries recorded those gold, and then use that data and net it off what has gone through the the approved routes. You will see the difference between what has been smuggled coming from Galamsey and what has not been smuggled from Galamsey. So you can see it.
Right, but that does not contribute to the growth.
Oh, it does. It does. It does. The way the statistical service measure the growth, they are able to capture some of this data to reflect the mining sector because equipment and all of that feeding into those mining, they are captured in their growth assessment.
Well, I asked this because of the explanation that you gave, that if illegal mining gold goes out of the country.
It's the smuggling bit that you see. So in terms of
if you're
government revenue, so in terms of government revenue and forex, it's what you may not feel, but the activities within the country is being measured because it creates some economic activities because the activities are being done in the country. And if the activities are being done in the country, it generates the growth. So you'll be able to see the activities. But in terms of government revenue, being able to identify it and taxing it, because of the smuggling, you may not be able to identify it and tax it. And because you are also not able to track it properly, you don't get the remittances in terms of the forest coming into the economy. So that part you will not be able to. But in terms of the economic activity within the mining communities, it's here. you pick it. You pick it here. Within the mining communities, the mining companies that buy fuel, you will see it. They spend the money here. The mining companies, in terms of employment generation, you will see it. It's here that economic activities are happening in those communities.
So it's not as though you set a low growth target of at least 4%, so that when you outpace it, you would say, according to the MPP, that it would be because of your policies, and that's why you've gone beyond the 4% that you target and clap for yourselves.
You know, they set a target of 3.9. Why didn't you ask them the same question?
Well, they are asking you.
So first of all, my question is, they set up a target of 3.9. I've done 4%, so my target is higher than theirs.
So if it goes beyond the 4%, then because this is the least. You said it's the least.
Yes, just like they are celebrating. Obviously, it is our hope that the measures we've put in place is going to drive some growth. But we also decided to be conservative, largely because we have cut expenditure, and if you cut expenditure to a level, since it can also affect the economic growth to a degree. And Ghana, at the moment, what we need is to reduce the borrowings. And if we're able to reduce the borrowings and return to fiscal sustainability and debt sustainability, the economy will benefit in the long run. But our growth model is such that we will reform the real sectors of the economy, like the energy sector. And when you pick the energy sector in particular, you can look at the upstream petroleum sector. Alfred, what's the name again?
Alfred, yes.
Alfred. The petroleum sector in the last 8 years has been declining under the MPP. The petroleum sector in the last MPP administration has been declining. What can we do to bring back our petroleum sector? You can check the revenue flows coming from the petroleum sector, and you will notice that the revenue flowing into the budget has also declined and is declining. We want to, as a matter of urgency, work to bring the like of Pecanfield back on stream for us to do the development. And we also want to work as much as possible to encourage the likes of E&I to do major investment. You recall E&I and their Springfield issues and all. We have successfully lifted the unitization problems, and the problem has been resolved. We expect that in the coming days, E&I will begin some investment in the Ghanaian economy and many others. Right. Aside the upstream, there's the need for us to resolve the problems we have in the power sector. And if we're able to resolve that and free the amount of money we are paying in the form of shortfalls to support the power sector, that amount can be redirected into areas that can also drive growth. And so we are putting together a comprehensive structure to change the growth model, because the current growth model for Ghana is not sustainable. And we have to do what we have to do.
And talking about the also revenue generation, and that's going to be my last, because you were in Parliament today as promised, today, Thursday, to present 8 bills to then kickstart the process of scrapping the taxes you promised, taxes and levies that you promised that you would remove. 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as a betting tax, which the minority says you should have given some more detail, because how you captured it created some confusion. Your predecessor said that they never implemented the betting tax. Well, he's come to explain what he meant by that, but that was what he said immediately after you presented the budget.
We are removing the betting tax. The NDC part of our manifesto, promised the people of Ghana that when we win, we will remove the betting tax. I have subsequently presented a bill to Parliament today to get that particular tax removed. We are repealing the ESLA, the emission levy and the e-levy. So the two taxes are going. We have also laid a bill to ensure that minimum wage is exempted from the payment of taxes. Minimum wage. This is our promise to Labour, and we are going to do that as part of the Income Tax Amendment Act. So that will also be done. And so
the Ghana Investment and
Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund is not a tax. It's a revenue that goes to them in terms of ABFA that we are removing. So they're taken from there.
Also, the special import levy.
Special import levy, we're only extending the sunset clause.
Okay, and the growth and sustainability levy, which you are increasing from 1 to 3%
for mining companies.
Why do you reduce the, as I've seen in the budget, the growth and sustainability levy, you are increasing from 1 to 3%, but then also you are abolishing the tax on the unprocessed gold by small-scale miners.
This is to curb the issue of smuggling so that the state can benefit from the forex, the foreign exchange. Remember, I told you that a lot of gold is being smuggled out of the country. What we are seeking to do now is to curtail the smuggling. And so we engage the industry to find out what is really encouraging that smuggling. And that's part of the engagement we did towards the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board. We flagged that as a major driver of the smuggling. So we felt there's the need for us to remove it as part of the establishment of the Gold Board. So the Ghana Gold Board can mop up this gold for the purposes of bringing in forex to support our economic growth.
I see. And what about the COVID-19 levy?
I think I explained that also and said that it is going to be removed before the year end, before the end of the year, as part of the VAT rationalization. And we'll do that and announce that before the year ends.
But that's not part of the 8 bills that
because you have not started. We've started the process of reforming the VAT. But as part of it, when we are ready, we'll go and remove that.
Before the budget was presented, I spoke to a number of economists, financial analysts who thought that you should have a rethink of the decision to remove the betting tax, because in their view, even if you reduce it from 10 to 5 and keep it there, especially because of the projected revenue from there, and they put the gap that this decision to scrap these 3 tax handles would create well over 7 billion cedis. Now, you announced that you have put some measures in place to block that revenue loss. What exactly is going to be done going forward to deal with this?
I think we've announced the removal of the betting tax, and we are not going back to it. I've presented a bill to Parliament, and I hope that if Parliament is able to take it under certificate of urgency tomorrow, this betting tax will be removed. It was our social contract, and you can't go back to it. Go back against it. We have promised, we have delivered, we've done our part. Parliament will consider those taxes and remove them. But as I have said, it is now time for us to ensure that even though we are removing these taxes, we will do what we have to do for the people of Ghana. And we found a clever way to deal with it, and that will be continuing.
Budgeted 3.5 billion for free senior high school.
Yes, correct.
You uncapped the GET fund, which you say would make an additional 4 billion available.
Correct.
The former Deputy Finance Minister Abnao Siasari is saying that that should not be used to feed students at the free senior high school, because that is not what the GET fund is meant for.
I think she did not pay attention when I was speaking, and I said that we are going to amend the Get Fund Act to make free senior high school a function of the Ghana Education Trust Fund.
Going to make it a function
yes,
of the
yes,
fund?
So Get Fund will be the one responsible for the financing of the free secondary education to make it more sustainable. Today, we don't have sustainable way of funding the free secondary education. Once again, they are surprised that we've been able to come out with a very wonderful way of funding free senior high school, as against them being in office, introduce a policy, and they were unable to find a proper or a sustainable way of funding it. So maybe, and again, let me say that I was expecting them to say that, well done NDC, you've been able to solve our headache, something that we couldn't use 8 years to fix. We will fix it. That's what they should do. And in private, they will tell you that you've done well.
They tell you that you've done well?
In private, a lot of them says that this is innovative and you guys have done well.
The MPP MP, some of them congratulated you
in private.
After the budget presentation, in private.
Yes.
These are disbursements.
I think it's time.
All things being equal, and then also many a times we've seen these announcements by the finance minister. But then again, when we get into allocations, it's a different matter altogether. And some of the ministries don't get what you have said they would get. How do you intend to, in fact, address this? Promise the people that what we have heard is what you're going to give to them?
It's a matter of budget credibility. And as I said, your projections must be right in budgeting for a budget to be credible. You have a responsibility to ensure that you project right revenue, right expenditure. And for you to be able to project it right, you have to get a right GDP. And so if you blow your GDP and you don't get it, you have set all of this off. So I prefer to under-project and over-perform. And under-project, raise the revenue, and ensure that you pay what you have to pay. And most importantly, off-budget activities, you have to stay out of it so that you'll be able to ensure that what you have said you are going to do in your budget, you'll do it. This is my first budget. Let's see how the year ends and judge me how the year ends, and you'll be able to know that this budget, 2025 budget, will be one of the most credible budgets in the history of the Republic of Ghana. Because we projected and we delivered.
Dr. Cassiel Ato Forson, thank you very much for sitting with us.
Thank you.
And the Finance Minister of the Republic of Ghana talking about the budget, projections, disbursements, in fact the allocations, and then the commitment to disburse, and responding to some of the NPP's issues they raised at the press conference. My name is Alfred Kanse. Thank you very much for staying with us on TV3.